Daniel sent me a message and said, "Why baseball's dead?" I told him he's not the first or the last person gonna ask that question. But you see where I'm coming from, right? Everybody is like, it's catchy. You know what I mean? Like baseball.
It is catchy. It's one of those things that people always asking me, "Do you think baseball is dead?"
Yeah.
I'm like, man, part of it is.
I think there's a resurgence, man. All these young players with all this energy, man. You know, like it's almost like they're recreating it.
Right.
Bit.
Yeah.
You know? Making it more excitement.
I gotta bring
more
it back,
exciting.
Bring it back down to earth.
Right.
With some small ball and real baseball. You know.
That'd be nice to see. Come on, Jordan. Let's do it. 2:35. We almost ready, Mel? We're ready. Come on, Jordan.
235.
235radio.com. Welcome back. Baseball's Dead, episode 9. We have DJ Mel, Jordan Jewels in the production. We have Joel Caracadis, Dugout Boys, Teddy Mercado, and Jovan Enriquez. We're lucky today to have Daniel Tiant, son of Louis Tiant, Red Sox great.
What's going on?
Daniel, what's going on? How things going?
Not much, man. How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure, man. Our pleasure. I was glad that you gave us a call last week. You know, as soon as I heard it was you on the phone, I said, you know what, Joe, we have to get this guy on as a guest. You know, this guy that has a lot of knowledge of the game, and I'm sure he has a lot of opinions of what's going on in today's world of baseball. Do you agree?
Yeah, a well-rounded individual.
Right on. So, Daniel, where are you right now?
Right now I'm in Naples, Florida.
Ah, nice weather out there, huh?
I'm in sunny Florida. I see you guys in your sweatshirts and stuff. I'm actually just in a golf shirt chilling.
Oh, yeah. It's cold out here. We're expecting a nor'easter.
Yeah, no, it's not pretty at all.
How about your dad? Is he close nearby? Is he what they call snowbirds?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not quite. He's actually up in Wells, Maine right now. And,
Oh man!
yeah, that's where they call home. So
In
he's
the
up
igloo. He's in the igloo.
He's in the igloo. He's in the igloo. He's just waiting for the call to see when he comes down for spring training.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. So listen, man. Let's talk a little baseball, man. I know you're partners with the Golgano and Tiant Sports Agency, right? It's sports group or sports? What do
It's
you call
sports group. It's Golgano Tiant Sports and Entertainment Group, and we shorten it just a sports group.
All right, so tell us a little bit about that.
Man, well, it's a sports agency that I've been involved with for the last 3 years. But Lou, who's my partner, has been around for 40. He's got about 40 years experience in the sports world as an attorney and a sports representative. So we got together. We actually linked through my dad and Tony Oliva. Actually, he used to represent Tony Oliva, and he knew that I wanted to get into this business, into this sports world, and he's become my mentor and my partner. So he's the one kind of showing me all the ropes right now, the do's and don'ts of the business, and how to keep moving forward.
That's great, man. Now, we've had some guys that are pro guys on the show, and we've talked about certain situations and stuff. My question to you is, do you think it's important for a high-end high school kid to have an advisor as like yourself on hand?
I think it is. You know what? I think every situation is different, but I feel it's very helpful, especially when the parents don't know what direction to go to with their kids and what the kids are looking to do. You come up to an important life decision. If it's a high-end player, do they go the draft route or do they go the college route? You know, and then if they do go the college route, which college do they go and pick? You got to start thinking about the money that's coming in on the draft, and is it life-changing money? Should they wait a couple of years and get that not only the education but the maturity? Don't forget, when you go to high school, when you're coming out of high school and you're going right into the minors, there's where the mental toughness kicks in. Are you able to hang and play in the minor league level with a lot of this competition, or is it better for you to go the college route, mature a little bit more, adjust, because you're still going to have to make some adjustments, and then get drafted out of college. So for me, I think it's very important. But you got to know the kid individually along with the family to see what decision is best for them.
And how do you go about identifying that?
You get to know them. For me, it's building a relationship. I have to build a relationship not only with the baseball player, but I got to build a relationship with the parents. It's very important for me to get to meet the parents, talk to them, see where they're at. They're the kind of parents that let their kids just say, hey, let them run the show, let them do what they got to do. It's his future. Or are they parents that want to get involved with the player's everyday decision? You get a lot of that. And if the player isn't as mature as another 18-year-old, 19-year-old, or 17-year-old, then you gotta lead them in the right direction. For me, I'm very patient about those things and getting to know them. I feel a lot of other advisors and agents might be, hey, go in the draft, let's make the money. But if that kid isn't ready mentally, I find that they're not going to succeed. It's going to be tougher for them, and they may have gone the college route, which should have benefited them a lot more.
Yeah, so basically what it really comes down to is the maturity level, right?
Right.
So is that where we talk around and talk how colleges sometimes look at a kid that maybe even reclassifies, or a kid that goes to a JUCO and turns around plays, they're more apt to give a kid at a JUCO or a 19, 20-year-old graduate more money than a 17-year-old graduate, because they're a little bit more mature and they think that, they'll be able to handle it a little bit more. I mean, there's a lot of money on the table, right?
Well, it's a catch-22. I mean, sometimes teams buy the dream of this kid's 17, 18. What are we actually buying here? So it's you might get paid just as much, or not even more, being that 18-year-old versus being 21. If you go to college and you're going to get drafted out maybe when you're 21, 22, you're going to have a track record of success or not success. You're going to get basically paid on that. As an 18-year-old, you're going to get paid on your success at high school.
Right, and the talent level's way different.
So that's when you could basically take advantage of the system.
Correct. So, Daniel, do you have any clients over here in the Northeast, or you looking at any guys over here in the Northeast that really pique your interest? I mean, I know you're way down south in Naples, but we do definitely have some talent out here in the Northeast that's making some serious noise across the country.
Right. As of now, I don't have any clients in the minors or majors from the New England area, but there are kids that I've been talking to that were in the works as far as advising them. I'm very intrigued with the Northeast. Obviously, that's for me is home. I've seen baseball advance in New England from when I used to play. You got a lot more indoor facilities, a lot more opportunities to better your game even during the winter time, and the talent seems to be getting a lot better. It's a lot of travel ball. I'm kind of mixed with the travel ball. I like it and I don't like it, but it's given these kids the opportunity to come down south and play, whereas normally they'd be stuck up in New England. So you're seeing a lot more talent evolve up there. So it definitely is a big interest for me because it still is home. Massachusetts, all New England is still home to me. And look, even with the Tiant name, to me, that adds a little value to being up there. So I'm hoping to eventually get more players out of that area.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, Joel, do you agree? I mean, it's a bit of a hotbed right now. I mean,
It's a hotbed. It's going to continue to grow, too.
yeah, I think I can't agree with you more.
It's not going to slow down.
Right. I mean, I think we're having guys like you and other like-minded people like yourself, Daniel. I think it could only help the growth of baseball here in New England. I think, like you said, as far as the indoor facilities, the new technologies out, and kids are just continuously working year round. Do you think that is actually the difference in the then and the now, as far as the Northeast talent coming up?
I do. Like I said, you have the ability now to train year round. That helps you. It's not the same. Look, playing and practicing indoors is not the same as playing outside, but it does give you that ability to hit, field, do some drills, fundamentals, do what you got to do. As far as the technology goes, and even at the analytics side, this is where I think analytics helps. I think when you talk about baseball, you should be right in the middle between the actual natural talent of the player and the analytics, not swing one way or the other. But the analytics side is now giving you the readings of these kids, how hard they hit, how hard they pitch, a lot of their spin rate, their movement. So when you see that in these kids, you're like, man, this kid's got some talent there that we can work on. You start to focus on that. And that's stuff that we didn't have growing up. It was really just play spring, summertime, and then, fall if you could, but everything else was just shut down.
Yeah, so Daniel, so I want to revert on the comment you said about how you feel you're kind of in between with the whole travel baseball thing. Can you touch on that a little bit? What do you think of the pros and the cons are when it comes down to travel ball?
For pros, the pros on it is a lot of the Northeast teams get to come down and play down here. I think that's a big plus. You get to play in other areas with the top talent in Florida, Texas, and things like that. One of the cons that I have with travel is I think it gets away from playing the game of baseball, the fundamentals of it. If they don't have enough time to practice and gel as a team, it's really just putting some players together, almost like an all-star team, and let's go play. I've seen a lot of tournaments where I cringe when I see kids that just want to throw hard, but they don't know how to pitch. Or I see guys that want to hit home runs, but they don't know that at this specific point you got to hit the ball the right field instead of trying to pull the ball.
Move around.
That kind of stuff. The game time situation. That's the part that I see lacking when you see a lot of these travel ball tournaments. It's basically a giant showcase.
Yeah, it's all or bust.
Right.
It's all or bust,
Right.
and we just had a couple guys down there, and I had a conversation with. I didn't talk to you about or either one of you guys about this conversation I had with Daniel Ortiz, and the kid right now. Rap Soto, he's hitting the ball 370 feet. Regularly. 95 mile per hour exit velo. But he goes to the showcase, and it's shooting the gaps. And so when we spoke, I think it was like 2 days ago, he said to me, he goes, well, I can go yard, but when I get into the box, like my mentality is not like that. I just want to hit the ball hard. And he says, but I like to go yard. So you got to kind of be smart and pick your spots, right? In order to take those daddy hacks or not, because at the same time, everybody loves the dinger. Everyone loves the long ball.
I think
Everybody does. Everybody right now is enamored with the home runs and the strikeouts. And, not even the strikeouts, the how hard you throw.
Right.
You see it in the national showcases when they do batting practice. Everybody's oohing on a guy who's hitting it in the upper deck. For me, I'd rather see that kid in a game time situation, see what he's going to do in a 3-2 count, 1-2 count, 1 out, 2 outs. Does he fold under pressure or does he not? Anybody can home runs. It's what you're going to do at the plate during a game time situation that matters most to me. And that is why I feel that baseball has gone backwards sometimes, because we're focusing so much on the home runs, the throwing hard, but nobody's teaching these kids how to throw strikes. What do you do in a 1-2 pitch? Instead of just let me just throw it really hard, you got to keep the hitters off balance. And the same thing goes with hitting. You got a man on third and you want to hit a bomb. How about you hit the ball opposite field and get that runner in? Mm-hmm. That's the part that's missing in the game of baseball.
Talk it, brother. Talk it. Joe, what do you think of that?
It's absolutely true. But you can differentiate when the lights turn on and the game starts. Either you can hit or you can't hit.
235radio.com. Joe, you are absolutely right. How many of those guys we saw fold in that tournament? There was a game we watched, and the team was loaded. 80% of the kids were all commits, because now, Daniel, they all have to be committed now. Every kid got to be committed by the time they're in high school now.
Yep.
Right? Everybody's committed, and then but you put them in game situations. The games, it was 10 runs scored on 3 hits.
Right.
Whoa.
What kind of baseball was that?
That's
Played
bad.
by all these kids that are committed.
Jeez.
Right.
You know
It's-
that's tough stuff, man.
It is. It's tough, and it's tough to watch.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Yeah, I go to a lot of these tournaments, and I like to sit down and watch the games. You know, I've seen other agents, I've seen advisors, I've even seen scouts that don't even watch the game. They just go, and it's almost like who's who, and let's just see who's here. I'll sit down, I'll watch the game. I go the old school route. I got a notepad, and I just take notes. I'll pick one specific game. But it's hard to watch a game that way because, like you just said, there's 10 runs and 3 hits. How is that humanly possible? But that's what starts happening. You know, it's not entertaining. It's not fun. And you get a lot of these guys. They talk to you. You know, scouts talk to you. College coaches are like, man, I have to go to another tournament. I really don't want to go to this, and because they've lost. Again, it goes back to they lose the fundamentals of the game. They lose the game time situations. The baseball IQ is gone, and it's like live or die. Let's just go and hit a home run. Let's go strike somebody out and forget everything else. And it does. It lengthens the games from what could be a 2-hour game to like a 5-hour game.
Yeah, I tell you, man, that's the one thing with baseball that that's intrigued me throughout the decades I've been watching it, Joel and guys, that sitting there like watching big situations and watching big time pitchers and sitting there with my kid and saying, what do you think he's gonna throw next? Because guys at that level, it's a big chess game, right? And so you want to sit there and really guess like what's gonna be his move. And I think you are correct when you say that we're losing some of that and at the younger levels. And I think that these kids should really start thinking like that and really start remembering that baseball is really kind of like a game of chess.
No, it is.
Like, oh, he's thinking I'm coming low, I better go high. He's thinking I'm coming with a fastball, I better go off speed. You know, and I think that I throw 95 and it's gonna gas the ball by him because at some point they're gonna catch up to that. Right? 235radio.com. So, Daniel, I wanted to ask you, what do you think of the minority participation in college and at the pro level?
You know, to me, I look at the numbers, and you know, it's a number that you know. You talk Latin players is always growing. The African American number is a number that's decreased through the years, and you kind of ask yourself why. I feel it's something that needs to be developed from the ground up. You need to build that foundation again. We've been able to do that in Latin America with the academies, and that helps. To me, it gives a lot of these kids that opportunity to sign, play in the minor league system, the big leagues, or go through college. I feel that the African American players here, it's showcases which can be expensive. If they don't have the means for it, that can be difficult. I think they need to develop some sort of academy system here in the U.S. for these kids too. You know, kids let's be honest, travel ball is expensive. You know, you got to travel, you got a hotel, you got to stay there for 3 days, 4 days, you got airfare. That stuff adds up. You know, at one point growing up, hockey was, to me, was an expensive game. Now I'm seeing baseball where everything is in the thousands left and right. I mean, how many parents can handle that?
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
And in reality, you have to be, I think that's where they need to start forming some sort of an academy set up here in the States for players, you know, minorities, low-income kids to help them out. You have to get them interested in the game of baseball again. And it's got to develop from the ground up.
Yeah, I tell you, I want to send a shout out to my guy Alexander Weitz with Minority Baseball Prospects down in Georgia. He's doing a great job trying to elevate the game for the black and brown kids down there. And of course, the Robert Lewis and his son Stefan over here with the Bears also doing that. But it seemed like we were touching base on the pro level. I want to talk about their participation and their numbers at the collegiate level, you know, because let's face it, like we got, even if all the numbers were even across the across the board, right? Even participation number, we got to understand that for kids to get a second payday in baseball, I mean, you got to be a special talent, right? One thing's to get drafted, get a paycheck, say, hey, here's a signing bonus. Now the work starts. Now they start weeding the weaker players out, and a lot of those kids don't get that second paycheck. So the education is big. What do you think about those numbers? Like you mentioned the academies down in the Dominican Republic, right? I mean, yeah, they're doing a great job, and I've been following that closely because I just recently started a venture down there, and they're dropping a lot of money down there, right? But the reality is that those kids are not getting educated, so all those kids end up signing for big money. They get this big money. Well, not all of them get big money, but some kids get big money. They sometimes are lucky enough to make it to the States, right? Because they have to have a stretch down there on the island playing rookie ball, right? If they're lucky enough to come to the States, then all of a sudden they say, "Oh smokes! I just spent 3 years in rookie ball, thinking I'm gonna come to the United States and I'm gonna be playing with Juan Soto." And it's like, no, pal. The fun just started.
Right.
You're in single A.
Right.
And it's like, holy smokes, now what? Right? So it's like they don't have no education. They don't make the cut on the team, and now they're here in the United States. They don't even go back, and they don't have no future.
Yep.
Right.
So I mean, what's your take on that?
Well, you're bringing up some.
I know. It's
You're bringing some great points, and these are things that I've discussed with people. The academies give the kids the opportunity to play and get looked at, but they have some major flaws, and this is where I have a problem. There is money made, but who makes the money? Okay, and then what does the player take in these contracts? Which, I mean, to me, it's robbery what these kids get taken away from their contracts. The biggest thing that they need to do in these academies in Latin America, or even if they do one here with kids in the inner city, is education. Education is key, and
Right.
they don't focus on that. So I've talked to kids. I represent kids. They said, no, I signed, and I forget high school. I just signed. Well, that's when I got to be real to them and talk to them man to man, almost like a father-son role. And be like, look, while you're here, you better talk to the organization, and 2 things better come out of it while you're here. 1, focus on learning English, and 2, see if you can go to school and get your education. Whether it means take some courses to go into junior college or something like that, you need to do it. Because these kids, all of them, it's sad to see, but they all think that they're going to come here and be the next Juan Soto, the next Acuna.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. There's a small number. It's a small number. So that's one thing that needs to be worked on. There needs to be more of a focus, not on the game itself. These kids got the talent, they can play. But you need to be able to give them that education, which is get them to learn basic English and just even get them to the point where they can succeed in life doing something else. A plan B, that's basically what it is. The more that they learn, for example, the more that they learn English, at least now they can work within the organization. So if they don't make it, be like, hey, listen, I still want to be in the organization. Can I get into coaching? Can I get into scouting? Can I get into, eventually work my way into front office? Those are possibilities. And I've talked to players right now. I've talked to people in the front office that actually played for my dad. And those are kids back in the day that didn't think that they'd be front office position guys. But with the proper guidance from people like my father and other coaches, they saw that light and they were ready and prepared to do the plan B. Those are the things that need to be taught to these kids. They don't, and then it's not taught at all. That's a sad thing to see.
Joel, listening to Daniel talk, right? I'm starting to think I think that the junior colleges are really the unsung heroes of this whole thing. Like, if you really think about it, junior colleges are doing a lot of work that like Major League Baseball should be doing. Like they step in and they give these kids opportunities. You know, I sent you the video of my kid, Leori Baker, throwing 94. He topped off at 96, just sitting on that island. Like, this is a kid with a lot of talent that, you know what, maybe he doesn't have the education, but I know that because he's 22, Major League Baseball might look at him like, oh, he's a dinosaur. But then you and I have talked. How many junior colleges aren't going to be willing to give this kid a shot and educate him?
No, absolutely. We've already tapped into that. Like, I've been helping those kids get over here for 10 years. And some schools really take advantage of it, but not all those junior colleges have an international program. It's a process. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. And you have to have the institution buy into international students, regular students. You can get just as many regular students as athletes, you know, but some do it so well that those kids can come over here. So at 16 years old, you don't make the money. A lot of those kids don't play anymore.
Right.
But they have such passion over there for the sport of baseball. And that's everywhere. Venezuela, Mexico, Dominican, Colombia. And you take that kid that's 18, 19, that's figured out a little bit about life, and now you give them that opportunity to come over here. That's like the 22-year-old that just come out of the 4-year school.
Right.
That you're drafting. So he's mentally more mature. He's physically more mature than the 18, 19-year-old. And at that point in time, their growth can skyrocket in the game of baseball. But you have to have an advocate that keeps all those people in line. But in life, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You know, you got to be lucky to run into someone that's going to change your life. Sometimes, I would say more often than not, it doesn't happen. You know, because they treat the kids as, you know, not so much property, but a paycheck. If they don't get the paycheck off of that kid, they're moving on to the next groups of kids. So that they might not even finish high school because all they did that whole period of time from 12 to 16, 17 is train. No school was basically part of that. Kind of what Daniel's saying is change the game. You have to institute schooling for whatever subjects, whatever topics that need to be done for those young kids, but also inclusion in English. You know, it's the same here too. I mean, we could go talk about this forever, Daniel, you know, with minor leagues, major leagues, having the hitting instructors, the field directors, those people that don't speak the language should be taking courses in Spanish.
Spanish.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a dual type of situation that's not good. You know, so the Latin player is going to go to the Latin coach. The white player is going to go to the white coach. I would say you take those two coaches and you say you have to work with the Latin kids and you have to work with the white kids. And the only way you do that is by having them learn the other people's languages. Yeah. You know, it's just not etched in stone, and somebody's going to figure it out eventually. But that's the only way you grow the game, is by having everybody on the same page, be willing to learn about someone else's culture.
Right. Because I think even some of these big stars, like you see the interview process and stuff when they have their own interpreters and stuff, like it's got to be tough for that guy. You know, like he hits a walk-off homer, he comes in for the big shot, big strikeout, whatever the case may be. Like he's a superstar, goes into the clubhouse, and he might be in a small circle because he can't communicate with the rest of the squad. You know, it's tough stuff, man. Yeah. You know, it has to be addressed. But how is it done? That's really the key question, right? No one really got. If someone knew the answer to that, then we'd be all right.
Well, you know, I think what a lot of organizations are doing now is the English classes for these kids. They have a tutor that comes in. They do about an hour a day, 2 hours a day, and they start learning their English. And Joel hit on a great point there. It should be both sides. Yeah. I remember talking to my father about this a while back. And when he was working with an organization, and he didn't see a lot of Latino coaches. And he expressed concern because two things come out of this. the Latin kids don't want to speak because they're shy. So they're labeled as standoffish. They're labeled as lazy.
Yeah.
No, they don't know how to communicate. So that's already a strike against them. And some scouts will look at that, and that's why these kids get released. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. So what happens is you look at the coaching staff, they're all American, and none of them speak Spanish. So he started to talk to the front office about it, and he's like, look, you guys got to start hiring at least one Latin coach per level, because then that's going to give these kids the comfort that they need to talk to somebody. Do you know how hard it is to come to this country and not know a lick of English, and you got no family? So those are the things that they didn't understand, and they've gotten better. And now you're seeing that throughout baseball, where more Latin players or more Latin coaches are at every level for that reason.
Daniel, great points. Now the question is this one. Do you think that with that situation that happened with Alex Cora last year, and I ask you again, 235radio.com, we have special guests with us, Daniel Tiant, son of Louis Tiant, Red Sox great. That's why I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think not having Alex Cora leading that team last year was the reason they weren't as successful as they were in the past?
I think Cora's a great manager. Yeah, I think he'd make something work with whatever he's got. And I mean, the team didn't. I mean, he still had some horses. I don't. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, if it was with him or not. If it was him not being on team or not. But I do know that the core of that team was kind of the same. And I think it affects it. Look, players play for their managers, and they're comfortable. And that's a relationship you build, a bond. So I feel that does affect the game.
I personally, I didn't see Devers playing like he played when he played for Cora.
No, and that's why. You hear about players coach, players manager, all that stuff. This game is about, and it's sports, it's relationships, it's trust, it's a bond. When you trade somebody, people think, oh, you got traded, it's no big deal. That player was best friends with somebody in that team. Now that's totally disbanded. How do you react to that? You may play worse with the next team. In this case, you had a manager who related great with somebody like a Devers, like a Bogarts, and that's gone. Does that affect you? It does. It does. It can. Maybe it did in this case. But Devers didn't play the way he did.
You're right. Shout out to John Henry for bringing Alex Cora back, man. I'm a fan of Alex Cora and the Red Sox. I got to be honest with you, man. I'm excited that the guy's back. So, Daniel, what do you have going on right now? Tell us a little bit what you got going on.
Right now, we have college baseball season down here. Junior college is in full swing. NAIA is in swing. So I got some players that I advise down here that I've been watching them play. Just making sure they're doing well in school and they're keeping up not only with their grades but with the game of baseball, and just trying to get to some tournaments here and there. And on top of that, working and getting ready for spring training. We're working with all our players that are signed. Make sure that they're ready to go when they get the call to come to Florida or Arizona. And on top of that, trying to get some of our unsigned players signed. So it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So I got a question. Now you're talking about getting unsigned players signed, right? So when you take a kid on as an advisor, you take him on, of course, because of his talent. But if you're a good advisor, can you take a kid that's maybe not as talented and get them signed just because of, it's not always what you know, but who you know?
I mean, relationships are a big factor. I think the player might get looked at instead of overlooked. Yeah, right?
Bingo. So, 235radio.com. I love that line. Go ahead, Daniel.
That always helps. But, I've never been one to promise a kid that I can get you signed or promise him I can get him to the bigs. I don't do that. Can we help more than others? Possibly, depending on relationships. But it all falls on the player and his talent and his work ethic. You put up the numbers, you'll move. The thing is, what's the tools and the team around you, and what can they do for you? But So it does. It does help when you have relationships with organizations, with colleges. They'll take your word for it, because you have a track record. That's always important.
Yeah, we've had some coaches call up here, and I see Joe shaking his head, and it's like once you have a track record, like our guy here, Joel Caracadis, he's able to pick up the phone and really put puzzle
Yeah.
pieces together, and guys trust him because he's been doing it for years, man. So it's
Joel,
important
I mean, yeah.
it's important
You
to
know,
have guys like him in your corner, right?
Joel's been around the game for a long time, and Joel's built some great relationships with some great coaches at some unbelievable programs, and it's his reputation. So if Joel's going to send a player to some school and the kid just does not succeed for one reason or another, and he just doesn't do well, that's Joel's reputation too. So Joel's careful with what he does and who he works with, and we all have to do those proper evaluations and make sure this kid fits in the proper program. And you're not going to send a kid who can play the game but is not lights out to a school like Vanderbilt. You might send him to a smaller Division One. You might send him to a D2 school. You just want that kid to play. But that all falls on Joel talking to these coaches and be like, hey, listen, I got this kid. He might fit your program perfect. And in doing that for so long and having success, it's become easy for somebody like Joel to pick up the phone and be like, hey, I got this kid. A lot of coaches might not even blink. They'll be like, all right, we'll take him.
Right.
We do need this possession. And that's that. But again, that is the importance of building a relationship,
I tell you, just a quick story, and I hope Joel doesn't mind me sharing it. But I remember speaking to a guy down there in Florida, and he was like, I needed to get this kid committed. I needed a D1 offer, and I was in a bind. I mean, I needed that offer to come through the wires in a matter of less than an hour. So he said I was in a tough spot, right? You know who he called, right? He called Caracadis, and the guy delivered a D1 offer in under an hour. The guy had the thing faxed over, and the kid was able to participate and give his commitment. And I guess the kid's doing pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Again, the power of relationships and networking. I think that plays well also in travel ball, Daniel. I deal with that myself, and I've had these long conversations with not just Joel, but with my coaches. I don't know if I introduced you to Coach Teddy and Coach Jovan. We call them the Dugout Boys here on the show, but they also coach. They coach for us over there at the Dugout. The thing that's important, relationships. You got a lot of these organizations out here that they might be ran by ex-pros or guys that have some experience, but if they don't really have the relationships, then your kid might be caught in a stalled situation. Do you agree?
Right. I do. I agree. Look, it takes time, man. This all takes time. It's very important to do all this, the travel, the networking, the building these relationships, because it works. It makes things smoother on both sides. So yeah, I do agree. I agree with you 100% with that. I had an experience once at Travel Ball where I went with a former partner and colleague of ours, and he thought it was a waste of time. And I said, well, we went to this games, and his whole thing was like, well, we got to sign and we got to get this player and this player. I'm like, no, man, you got to talk to the players. You got to see the players. You got to talk to parents. You got to talk to coaches. I left there with a kid who's the number one player out of the state of Georgia at the time, just by a conversation with a parent. And the parent was impressed by what I had to bring to the table and the baseball side of things. That they call me up. Next thing you know, I'm advising this kid who's the number one out of his position coming out of the state of Georgia. And
Wow.
It was something that happened not right there, but a week later I get the call. So you can't look at it as like, man, we go there and boom, we got X amount of players that we're going to sign and rep. It doesn't work that way. You got to take time. You got to take the time you got to put the time into it. You really have to.
Yeah, a good advocate evaluator is going to see a specific kid but may see 6 others that fit the mold of what he wants to represent. And that's kind of, I mean, college, pro, advisors, what are we buying here? What are we trying to promote? You
Right.
have to get to know the individual, the parents, is it going to work for my program or not? Can I really get this kid to the next level, whether it's being successful in life through school or playing pro ball? There's a formula, but you're selling you, Daniel's selling himself, I would be selling myself, but it comes with experience and track record of knowing to pull the trigger on a certain player, but you're not there just to see one. You're trying to see the whole atmosphere. I try to go to the ballpark and learn something new every day. You know, well, once you think you figured it out, you don't know nothing.
You got to do a good, proper team building. Joel and I have known each other for a long time, and it's kind of how we work. He'll call me and tell me about some kids, and give me the information. Let's work on it. Let's go. I don't need to go into more digging than that. He knows how I work. He knows how I function. He knows what I stand for, and it's a simple move for him to be like, "Look, I got somebody you can work with." Talking to the players and the parents. At that point, I got to carry that torch and talk to the kids. Talk to the parents, get to know them. That's my job at that point, and then we move forward. I have that same setup with another coach in Texas, Pete Wilkinson Academy. You know, we talk, and he's like, "Look, I got this kid working with me, and I think he'd be a great fit for you." And that's how it works, you know. And it's been great the way it's been going, and the same way. I actually have a player that we advised that I introduced to Pete in Texas because he's working with him a lot on life and mental skills, get him prepared mentally at his school, get him ready for any obstacles, and then ready for the next stage. And the parents love it because it's a tool that we're able to present to them that they can take and check it out, and they're happy with it. And so far, they've been thrilled. So it's all about putting that solid team together of people that you can work with and people you trust. And that's why Joel and I have been we've been, like I said, together. I'd say, shoot, how long, Joel? Probably like 15?
Yeah, long time.
Long time.
But I just go back to the fact that, like Daniel will say, I'll call him and try to give him a player or two. But it's vice versa, too. We go back to the Robert Coelho days. Right, Daniel?
Yeah.
And Danny's telling me about this kid. He's in Boston. You're up there. Can you help him? Yeah. I ended up moving the kid in the house because he was homeless, really. And it's a long story, but Daniel can talk a little bit about that because he is.
I'd love to hear some of that
He
story.
was a Cuban player. Good. Dan, talk a little bit.
He's a Cuban kid, a Cuban player. He was with the Reds organization as a catcher. He converted him to a pitcher, and he ended up just once I think Boston signed him, but he had nowhere to go, kind of thing. He developed a relationship with my father. You know, obviously both being Cuban, both have the same birthday, and he started treating him like his own son. Like he was to me, he was like my brother. So that's how we started with Joel, and Joel took him under his wing. He stayed with him. He took care of him, and he was able to have a few seasons here in Boston. Then he left, went to I think it was the Yankees, I think, or Angels.
We went to Toronto.
Toronto first, yeah. But you know, he had a few years in the bigs, and also in Asia. But look, that's what you do. You work with these kids. You help them out, help him out, and then that way his family now is able to rest easy, not stress out. Well, man, what about my kid? Where's he at? What is going on? And once they have that understanding that he has a good support system, the kid can play better. The family can relax, and you know we did our job, and that's really how Joel and I think connected even more than ever was through the Coelho incident.
235radio.com. So listen, I know we're closing in on the hour here. I really wanted to try something new. At the end of the show, I want to call it the Dreams and Nightmares segment. And so if you have either or a situation in baseball that you consider would be a dream or or a nightmare. Daniel, I would love for you to share it.
A dream within baseball?
Yeah, a dream, like something that you say, wow, this is spectacular, or a nightmare that came out of it, like whatever, either or.
You know, a nightmare.
both.
I don't think I've had a nightmare out of baseball, which is good. My dream is really with what I'm doing with the agency. I'm looking forward to the players that we have. I treat them like my own, and every time they move up a level and they perform great, it's a great feeling for me, like a proud parent. So my dream is to hopefully see from the roster that we have right now, a couple of guys be in the big leagues within the next year.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we lost you there for a second. Hold on, Daniel. We lost you there for a second. Can you still hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay, we got you back. Yeah, tell us about those young men you got in the systems right now.
We got a couple of guys that moved up this year, which was good. But I have look at the list right now. The players, the Dodgers. I have a couple of guys with the Dodgers that I'm pretty excited about, and Adolfo Ramirez, Roymer Bolivar, and Darian Nunez, a pitcher. All three, one's from Venezuela, one's from Cuba, one's from Mexico. So those are three guys. Antonio Hernandez, he's another kid with the Dodgers. It's funny, I had nobody with the Dodgers, and then all of a sudden this year, 4 or 5 guys end up being on the Dodgers. So I'm excited about those 4 guys in that organization. I like LA. They value their Latin players a lot. They're big on their Latin players, and they take good care of those kids. So I'm excited to see what they do over there. I got a real young kid with the Mariners organization, Milcar Perez from Nicaragua.
Wow.
They have him like a top 30 guy right now, and they're moving him up pretty good. He's another player I'm excited about. I have Jose Bravo, who's a pitcher with the Astros from Mexico. Excited about him. So I got a few young guys. I got a lot of guys I'm really excited about, young talent that are in the A-ball, AA, that they need a season. They need a season this year just to see where they're at. But the first few guys that I did talk about are in the AAA, AA level that have a good, solid shot of getting up there. Diego Granado is another kid with the Oakland A's, another Cuban kid I have that I'm excited to see. And they're all eager to play, so for me, I just want them to have a season just to get these guys back into some normalcy and show the teams what they can do.
That's great, man.
And back to that Dodgers thing, he is correct.
Really?
They really do a really good job. Not only with the Latin players, but also with technology and being able to figure out. They go to the ballpark and there's single A, double A, triple A games going on. Their organization is really scouting those other teams, just as much as their own players to see the numbers that they're putting up and the progress they're making. They're actually watching. They do the best at taking other players from other teams that they've given up on.
The Rule 5.
Yeah, they kill it.
That's what we talked about earlier, Daniel. That we said that. Wow.
Yeah.
I never even knew. I never knew much about that Rule 5 situation. I looked into it this year with a couple of our guys being on the move with it, but it sounds like a great thing that Major League put together, that Rule 5.
Yeah, well, it protects the players. There is no protection. Like we talked about earlier, Daniel, when you get that one paycheck from a signing bonus, I think maybe 85-90% of players never get that second paycheck, which is a big league check.
Right.
They own you for 5 years. You better do well with that signing bonus.
What if you sign for $50,000?
Well, you better knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
Because teams like the long ball.
You better be hitting a lot of home runs or striking a lot of guys, because it's tough. And we have a couple of guys like that sign for small bonuses, one reason or another, and it's a concern. What do you do with that next check? And you better be smart with whatever money you sign for, because if you don't, it's a tough road ahead.
I mean, we could do a whole segment on that, but if you break down $100,000 signing bonus for, the catcher coming out, senior sign catcher that gets 10 grand or whatever, and they're only making $1,200-1,300 a month. Do the math. 5 years they own you.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, each level you get a little bit more.
You could probably drive Uber though, part time.
I think most do. I would just work at
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A. And eat Chick-fil-A all day long.
Job. They better start getting a second job for that reason, man. It's tough.
Oh man. Well, Daniel, man, you wanna plug your social media stuff on?
Yeah, sure. Just if anybody out there has any questions on baseball and advisory stuff and representation, or even want to just give us a follow, the company one is Galgano Tiant, at Galgano Tiant, GALGANOTIANT, and that's the handle for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And my own personal one on Instagram is dtiant23.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and post something on our page too to let people know exactly where to find you, Daniel. I want to say thank you for your time, and I look forward to building a relationship with you, and maybe getting some of our Northeast stars in your hands, and you can guide them through their pro careers. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'm all about that.
Right on,
Yeah.
guys. You guys any questions for Daniel?
Nah, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate your time. Thanks for your time.
No problem.
And we got to get Louis in the real Hall of Fame because that's where he belongs.
Right on.
Yeah, that's the
great
next
point.
thing too. I
Great point.
appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
You got it. Thank you very much. 235radio.com. Daniel Tiant. Thanks, brother.
Peace, Dan.
Thank you. Peace. Take care, guys.
So, guys, man, that was a great episode. You guys have anything you want to add to that?
No.
No? Dreams and nightmares section? No?
The dream is that coronavirus will go away and there'll be a full season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's what I've been dreaming about. And for my kids to get back to school.
Mine are in school already, which is a good thing, but
Well, yeah, you live in an area that, is all about that.
it is.
Yeah, I want to say hi to Caleb and Kayla, too, and Mama.
Right on. Yeah, Caleb had a good week this week. Staying back, hitting the ball hard.